If you're an offender bender, you might snap some photos for insurance purposes. But what if you're in a serious wreck and rush to the hospital? Would you expect law enforcement to document the scene? Well, don't count on it. Investigator Ryan Kath explains why photos are sometimes never taken.
Krista, these days pretty much every phone also has a camera, so you might expect digital pictures would be part of any crash investigation. But we found that's not the case.
It's more than 100 degrees in this Kansas City garage, and Frank Edwards is thankful to be back on his feet and sweating his way through work. This is what makes him happiest of all. Edwards has logged more than 250,000 miles on his lifetime odometer, but 2 years ago, he nearly took his last ride.
Nobody could believe I was alive.
On Labor Day of 2009, Frank was heading back from a holiday weekend trip with his wife, Cindy. It was a foggy morning, and they decided to pull off Highway 86 at a convenience store in Eagle Rock, Missouri. Cindy was riding ahead of them.
At that point, she signaled a turn and made her turn, and from that point on, I'm black.
As Frank started to turn, he was struck by a car heading in the opposite direction. Cindy remembers hearing the sickening collision.
I couldn't even watch anything on TV that had anything to do with accidents for a while, or I just start crying.
The point of impact was right about here, out in the road where cars turn left. After the collision, the car ended up right here in this ditch, and the bike flew all the way back here before smashing into a truck.
Knocked this blinker out, knocked this marker light out.
Buzz Hammond witnessed the crash from his truck.
I thought it killed him. He knocked him out of both his boots. He hit him so hard.
I got a metal plate in this arm.
The crash crushed bones in Frank's arm and leg. After he was airlifted to a Springfield hospital, Frank got his first look at the State Patrol accident report. He thought it lacked details, but what upset him the most is the trooper did not take photos.
They almost had to strap me down in the hospital bed. I was ticked. I was relying on the experts to tell me what happened, and I got told nothing.
A friend drove by days later and snapped pictures of the totaled car and the motorcycle. Edwards believes photos of the scene could have shown things like skid marks, the fog that morning, or where he was hit in the road. We requested the Missouri State Highway Patrol policy, which states troopers only need to take photos when appropriate. It's only required for reconstructions of large-scale crashes. We asked why it's not a part of any investigation with serious injuries.
Digital cameras, technology these days, it doesn't take that long to take pictures. What's the response to that?
Well, again, sure, if you're in a environment where you're not worried about getting run over by someone going 70 miles an hour, yeah, it doesn't take that long.
Are you okay? The State Patrol says inclement weather could prevent photos because of safety, or there are times when a trooper may have to respond to several other wrecks.
Mandating taking photos at every scene is not realistic.
No, and we have no plans to mandate that photos be taken at every scene of every crash.
There's probably still stuff from my bike over there.
We returned to the scene of the crash with Frank and his wife. Despite his recovery, the experience has left him financially wrecked. With no medical insurance, he's piled up more than $100,000 in hospital bills and filed for bankruptcy.
The biggest feeling I have is anger. Why couldn't somebody take pictures?
Just to recoup some of the money to pay bills, Frank hired an attorney for a personal injury case. But almost 2 years later, the case is still unresolved. Frank can't help but wonder if photographic evidence would have brought a speedier conclusion to the case.
I hate to think it was just because I was just a motorcyclist riding and wasn't important enough, but that's the impression I get.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, the lack of photos in his case are almost enough to leave Frank speechless.
And we contacted highway patrols in surrounding states, heard a lot of different answers. Officials in Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa all told us they would expect photos to be taken at any crash with serious injuries. A spokesperson in Arkansas told us all troopers have digital cameras, but it's left up to their discretion. And in Illinois, troopers do not even have their own cameras. Meantime, Krista, Missouri Highway Patrol told me they're actually in the process of getting digital cameras in the hands of all troopers. That's something that they should have complete sometime by the end of the year.
So it's different no matter where you are. Any chance of a policy change here? Have you gotten any indication?
With Frank's kind of accident with serious injuries, no. However, they did recently amend their policy to say if a trooper has a digital camera, he or she should make every effort to take photos if there's a fatality.
You'd want it done if it was you, probably. All right. Thank you, Ryan.